Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live special start sit show. We'll see if we get people today. Cool if we do, cool if we don't. It's a Tuesday. I know there's three games on Thursday, one game on Friday, so there'll be 8 teams off the grid by the time we do our normal start sit on Sunday, which will be 11 a.m. So the usual show for that. We won't have shows Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'll be mostly off the grid those 3 days. So I don't know that I'll be answering Twitter questions during that time. Again, get to the weekend. I can help you out at that point. But in terms of Thursday games, it's probably about the best I could do. If you do want detailed breakdowns of the 4 holiday games, those are on RotoWire YouTube. You can find the link on my X profile at Jim Coventry NFL. You also just go to the RotoWire YouTube page and find it there. We definitely have that all set up for you. We covered that for gambling, for fantasy, pretty much covered every relevant player, sneaky ads, and things like that from those games. So again, that should get you good to go on the 4 holiday games. All right, got a couple questions here. Delroy's in the house. Welcome, Delroy. Always good to see you. Half PPR, Isaiah Likely, Josh Downs, Demario Douglas, Jaden Reed, OBJ, pick 1. So first thing I'm going to mention about Downs, I saw a report from the Indianapolis beat writer today, and it was a little bit troubling. Apparently, Downs has been dealing with a knee issue since OTAs. That was like in May or June. And so that was interesting. And then 2 games ago, he played a little bit and he got knocked out with the knee injury, didn't finish the game. And then in the last game, the overseas game, excuse me, against New England, if you didn't see the game and just watch the box scores, well, he only played 20% of the snaps, 22, I think. And he had 2 big catches, but he clearly wasn't ready for that game. And so now they did have a bye, but we don't know if this is a knee he's been dealing with for 6 months. We don't know how much better it is. So right now, I would like to see Josh Downs play a game before we get there. Demario Douglas should have, I don't know, Bailey Zappi, he's the quarterback, and I don't know if that's going to be a difference from Mac Jones, but he's their slot guy. He should continue to see targets. The offensive line's bad. They really don't have outside receivers who separate. My guess is he continues to get 5 to 6 catches a game. Isaiah Likely, he's had opportunities on a few occasions here, even a game Andrews missed earlier in the year. And it doesn't look like his role in this offense is what it was last year when he had opportunities. So until I see him perform, I'm going to be very skeptical about Isaiah Likely. The matchup's great against the Chargers, but it's great for everybody. It's great for the running game. It's great for the receiver. So it's not like, oh, this is the one we got to pick on. And then Jaden Reed, the Detroit game is going to be interesting. You can get to them through the air, and I imagine Green Bay is going to have a deficit and they're going to have to throw. It's a matter of where the targets go, right? They're all split up to everybody. And it's like Reed and Dobbs, they both need to get a touchdown to cash. So it's like, if they don't score a touchdown, it's like, what do we do? Right now, they got Reed a nice running touchdown last game. And then OBJ is your last one. I'm thinking very highly of OBJ going forward, especially with Mark Andrews out. Obviously, they don't play the same position, but Andrews was kind of a downfield threat as a tight end for them. And that's really what OBJ is going to be. He's going to be more of a downfield threat for them. So I think your boom bust play in this group is OBJ. And I honestly think that Demario Douglas has a higher floor than Jaden Reed. So if you want the safe floor play, I'm going to say Demario Douglas. And if you want the boom or bust play, I'm going to say go with Odell Beckham Jr. And then, Delware, you want to know Josh Allen or Jared Goff. Sorry, wrong Jay. Wrong Jerry. Jared Goff or Josh Allen. All right, so sometimes in this one, Jared Goff, we know at home. He puts up great numbers at home. But here's the thing. When Detroit and Green Bay played in week 4, Detroit ran the ball 32 times for $132 with Montgomery and 8 times for 40 yards with the rookie Gibbs. And they played with the lead in that game. And Jared Goff didn't throw much. And I know they were on the road in that game. But this could be similar. Here's the problem with Goff. He has good upside at home. Green Bay plays a ton of zone. And zone is where they thrive, right? The Lions do great with zone. That's where Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta are at their best. But if the Lions get out to a lead with the ground game, they may not go away from it because now they got 2. They got Gibbs and they got Montgomery, and they're happy to feed them both. So that makes Goff a very volatile play. Again, he has upside. He could throw 3 touchdowns. He could throw for 300 yards if the game script works that way. I don't know without Aaron Jones on the field. You can't run on Detroit, especially not A.J. Dillon. And so it's probably not a game where they have to chase points. So he's boom or bust. Josh Allen's floor is too safe. And regardless of the mistakes he's made, he's been very good for fantasy in almost every week. And I think that floor can't go understated. And they're playing Philly. Whatever about Kansas City. Kansas City, I don't get what Andy Reid did yesterday, but this is an easy matchup for Josh Allen. And Philly can't cover. And his receivers are way better than what Patrick Mahomes is trying to do. I'm going to say Allen by a good amount. Now, of course, Goff is upside, but Allen does too. All right, Master J3. Oops, I forgot to put it on the screen. Start Charbonnet or Kirk, flex full PPR. So I don't expect Kenneth Walker to play. And the 49ers in the last two games, their run defense has gotten a lot better. And that's because a few weeks ago, they brought in Randy Gregory, and then they brought in Chase Young. And so now they add them to Bosa, and they got Javon Hargrave. So now what's happening is those four guys create so much pressure on the offensive line. What the offensive line do, they have to do a lot of things to keep those four players at much at bay, but that frees up the linebackers to get after the run. When the rush wasn't clicking earlier in the season, and so what happened was the linebackers had to do more because they were getting engaged with linemen. I don't think Seattle's going to have a lot of success on the ground. Kenneth Walker is an explosive element. Charbonnet is a very good running back, but he's more of a grinder. To me, I don't think that advantage is there right now. So we have that. So Christian Kirk. So Charbonnet, though, you can get to the 49ers in the screen game. They have been generous in that capacity. Now, there's not going to be a lot of yardage after the catch because of the speed of the linebackers. We can get some catches. So I think that Charbonnet has a safe floor for you. He should get you 40 yards on the ground. He should catch 3 or 4 passes. So you might get a total of 70 yards here. So it's not a bad game for him. His odds of a touchdown are probably 25%, I'd say. And then Christian Kirk. Oh, you want to know, or Kirk and flex. Okay. And the Kirk game. So Christian Kirk, his role has been weird, but last week they really used Calvin Ridley a lot differently. They finally used him outside, just put him on the outside, let him sit there. They're playing him in stacks. They were using him very well. It was very exciting to see how they used him. I don't know, because their offense got too static with the middle of the field, and defense has made it and Ridley's routes are predictable too. So when we're looking at Christian Kirk here, we got to say, they're playing the Texans. Texans are a good pass defense, but you can get him in the middle of it. Tavier Thomas plays the middle of the field, and he's one of the best slot corners in the game right now. So that's going to put me on Charbonnet. I think Charbonnet gets it because really Tavier Thomas is the toughest matchup for all the receivers. And then you want to know Debo or Kirk rest of the schedule. I talked about Ridley a minute ago. I don't know what they did with Ridley last week. This is the first time Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, did anything that was logical in terms of the pass game. And if Ridley's a proper alpha, then that means the targets are going to get split up between Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram. But I don't know what's going to happen. But I still think Debo hasn't been great, right? He has the same problem Kirk has. There are other people on the team that might get the ball. You got Ayuk, you got Kittle, and the Samuel's in that mix, but he's probably the less of the three based on the usage type. So I think they're pretty equal rest of schedule, but I think the 49ers will score more points. And I think that means there's more opportunity. I'm going to give Debo a 53-47 edge over Kirk rest. No, I'm going to give him like a 56-44. It's a little bit vast than that. I'm going to give Debo the lean there. And then you traded Ramondre for Kirk. That's a good trade. Yeah, especially if you had running back depth. Alex is in the house. Welcome, Alex. Let's see, Master J got another one. Pick 3, full PPR. Ayuk, Pittman, Ridley, Olave, Ford, Javante. Different league and need a win. Yes. So you need 3. The thing with Ayuk, of course, the cornerback match at paper isn't good. He's either going to see Devon Witherspoon or he's going to see Reek Woolen. But the routes he runs, he's almost like immune to cornerback play because the way Shanahan uses it. But the thing is, in some games, he's not going to get routes. Or I say targets, I should say. There are games he gets 4 targets. And we don't know when that's going to happen. So he has an enormous ceiling anytime. But it's problematic because we just don't know what it's going to be. Pittman is going to see targets. Pittman is probably going to see 10 targets. And they're playing Tampa. Jamel Dean again got hurt last week. Real problem. And he's been banged up the last month. Carlton Davis isn't playing that well. And we've just seen teams have their way with Tampa through the air. And Tampa, they're stiffening up against the run. Vita Vea's playing a little better lately. And Jonathan Taylor hasn't been good on the ground. So I think that Pittman's a great play here. Olave. So the way you want to attack Atlanta is through the air. Atlanta's been like one of the top run defenses in the league this year, but they're below average against the pass. They don't get much pressure. And I don't like that New Orleans on the road because they don't play as well there. I'm sorry, flip that. No, yeah, they're on the road. They don't play as well there, but the matchup is really good. And the bye week, I think, may have done the Saints some good. Olave had some chemistry issues with Carr. I imagine Carr is going to play, even if he had the concussion. They didn't have to clear him in terms of the injury report because he didn't play last week. But I imagine Carr will be there. So right now I like Pittman and Olave for the floor ceiling combo. And then your third one. So Javonte, they cut back on his work the last couple of weeks. I didn't like that. They were giving him like a real heavy workload and snap share, and then they cut down on it. So that's a little problematic. And Denver's playing Cleveland. They give explosive, but Javonte hasn't been a big play runner. That's how you get them, like Jaylen Warren. Everybody, you bet the over on the longest rushing attempt when you have an explosive back. Ford in that same game. Now, Ford has a good matchup, but he's splitting way too much work with Hunt, and Hunt gets a lot more of the goal line work. So I'm going to go with Pittman and Olave. And now you're between Ridley and Ayuk. And look, if they keep using Ridley the way they used him last week, Houston's not going to have an answer for him because Ridley is an excellent football player. I'm not going to say he's elite. He's not that, but he's a very good receiver. Ayuk has a similar ceiling, but I think his floor is higher. And that's why I'm going to go to Ayuk. I think he has a little bit higher of a floor because Ridley, we've seen the floor. And so when it comes to that, again, the way they use Ayuk, I'm not worried about the corner matchup. And Seattle's not going to probably get much pressure. Not, the way that Purdy's getting it out right now, I don't think pressure is going to be an issue. Brian Harwood, welcome. Anyone interested in the Thanksgiving NFL Fantasy Tiers Contest game? Well, that sounds like fun. Hopefully you get some good participation in that, Brian. Daniel, you just dropped Charbonnet on Friday to clear Herbert off. Oh, man. It's going to be I don't know. I wonder how long the injury for Ken Walker is going to be. And they have 11 days off to their next game. No, 7 days off. They play next Thursday. They play 2 Thursdays in a row. Yeah, that's maybe because he may play. I don't know how significant the injury is for Walker. If Walker misses a few games, that would be a bad job. But if it's a 1-game absence, then maybe Herbert's going to be fine. Foreman hurt his ankle last week, and I don't know how that pans out. So that's interesting. Delroy, thanks for asking people to hit the like and subscribe button. Appreciate that greatly. And Alex, again, hey, glad you're here. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope everybody's set up for some good football. James Webb, pick up Demario Douglas or Rashee Rice off waiver. Man, it's so sad with Rashee Rice. We see how good he is. Andy Reid doesn't see something. Let's throw Justin Watson 11 targets. I am not going to get over that one for a while. 11 targets to Justin Watson. If they won, all right, Andy, sneaky move. Great. Daniel, I don't see any other question from you on there. If you have another question, go ahead and ask it. All I see on yours is this. That's what's on the screen is exactly what I see from you. So if you have a question, please ask it. That's all I have on my screen right now. I don't have anything else. All right. So James, look, I can't say the Rashee Rice thing's going to happen. Splitting way too many snaps, and that's a problem. Demario Douglas, slot player, playing heavy snaps, been productive 4 straight games. Man, Rashee Rice is it's sad. Rashee Rice should, from what we've seen, and we're not the coach, but man, he should certainly be somebody we're looking at, but it's not the case. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm going to go with Demario Douglas, and I'm going to say it's probably not, it's probably like 60-40. If Reed didn't get it out of the bye, I just don't see it happening. All right, and let's see what we got here. Click it there. Click's not working so good here. What's going on here? Why is it popping off? I already answered. All right, Alex, get you next. Debo is huge for our offense, but fantasy-wise, not a consistent producer this season. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just it's a wonderful offense. It can be an unstoppable offense, but what the other players offer, like Ayuk is getting a little more downfield love, so that's a great thing, right? And that's a big part of their game. And then Kittle is just the mismatches he offers. When they get him on a mismatch in a linebacker, they see this sometimes the mismatch set up. And it's where Debo has like this hyper specific role where he's dragging the middle of the field a lot, and it's almost like if they don't need it, it's not something they're going to prioritize unless there's something real, glaring in the film that they see that they want to take advantage of. So yeah, no doubt. I get it. Joey Reed, it's up to you as well. Need a flex play? Terry McLaurin, Gus Edwards. Yeah, that's a good question. So back to the Ford thing from a little earlier. The matchup with Denver is very good. And I just don't like that Hunt sees a lot more of the goal line work than Ford, which is problematic. Ford has a nice floor for you. The Gus Edwards thing, Edwards gets similar work to Ford, but now all of a sudden, like 5 weeks ago, John Harbaugh, after like using Justice Hill at the goal line, could not understand that in a million years. But then he finally figured out, you know what? Oh, I have Gus Edwards. I have this 235-pound back that just kicks everybody's tail. Let's use him. And all of a sudden, what does he have? Like off the top of it, he probably has 10 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks. He has a 3 and a couple 2s and some 1s. It's insane. It might be even better than that. So Gus Edwards right now, he's getting similar yardage to Ford, and he gets a target or 2 in the games. And so they're in the red zone so dang much, and against the Chargers, I imagine there's gonna be a lot of red zone trips. He has a great chance of scoring. Edwards, now there's always the McLaurin factor, right? And with McLaurin, he seems to always get it done, but he doesn't have the massive games, right? But he has a good floor game. Now, Dallas, they play about 45% man. And I think where that factors in is with Sam Howell. Dallas is going to try to get really quick pressure while pressing the receivers off. McLaurin should be okay, but I think when we're looking at this, I think Gus Edwards right now, and touchdowns are real hard to predict, but you think against the Chargers, there's a great chance he finds the end zone again. So I would probably lean toward Edwards. If you're PPR, though, McLaurin may have a safer floor than any of them. The floor may be safer. But Edwards has a bit more of a ceiling in this particular game than McLaurin. Because, again, I just think Dell's going to get a lot of pressure on Howell. All right. Delroy, thank you again for asking for people to hit the likes of everyone. And then, Daniel, you said you had, why did KC stop running? Oh, it was simple. First, it was a horrible game plan. So they came out. Now, Philadelphia had a thinking coach. Andy Reid, I don't know what's up with him. So, first of all, when we looked at this game, and I projected this game out ahead of time, Philly was one of the top run defenses in the league, right? And they get passed on all day. So when Philly prepared for this game, they figured Andy Reid would study the film and see that they were horrible covering. And he'd lean on Patrick Mahomes and carve them through the air. So what Philly did was they didn't focus on their run defense. They played the pass. And then Andy Reid came in, I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to bury Patrick Mahomes. So first half, it works, right? Beautiful. So the run game works. Beautiful. Well, at halftime, Philadelphia's like, oh, they want to run the ball. Okay, well, we're going to play run defense. And they did. And then all of a sudden, that number 3 run defense, number 4 run defense, all of a sudden, Pacheco doesn't have holes to run anymore because they're playing defense. And it's like, well, they're not going to let Patrick Mahomes beat us. And then when Mahomes tried, they weren't winning. And the dropping balls, notice those passes were there in the second half. Justin Watson, the 11 target man, dropping passes, Kelsey dropping passes. So if their receivers didn't let them down, they would have won the game. But the running game, it was ridiculous. Like I said, the first half, fine. Oh, beautiful. Andy fooled you. Well, it didn't. You lost the game, Andy, because you should have put the ball in Mahomes' hands all along, because you eventually would have broke the dam. So, but they stopped running them again because the Eagles said, oh, you're going to run. We're going to play defense then. And they stopped them. Andrea, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Vorador, yeah, busy day. With the holiday, we try to get this in early, right? It's make this a real busy day so we can get everybody the information. I love breaking those games out for everybody early. If you need game breakdowns, they're on RotoWire YouTube. It's also on my X profile at Jim Coventry NFL. Broke down all 4 holiday games, including the Black Friday game for you. So get you ready if you have lineup things. But yeah, fun day. And then I'll be off, though. I won't be doing anything until Saturday. So I'll catch up. And happy holiday to you. Thank you very much for the support. Very happy you're part of this. It means a lot to me. The fact that each of you have made me a part of your fantasy routine, I say it a lot. I mean it. It means a ton that my work is meaningful to some of you. And so, yeah, the fact that you listen, thank you. It means more than you know. Jay Bashaw. Would I play both lines? Yeah, and I'm going to tell you where I have them ranked. Let me look at my weekly rank. I mean, this is the thing with these two. I have Montgomery as my running back 12, and I actually have Gibbs up at 7. He's getting 58% of the snaps the last 2 weeks. He's seeing more snaps, and those receptions mean something, right? So, yeah, I have them both both is RB1s. I mean, it's sick, right? But last time they played, Monty had 32 carries. Gibbs had 8. So it's 40 carries between them. If they have a lead again, they're probably going there. If they throw the ball to Gibbs. So, yeah, I think you play them both, as crazy as that sounds, right? We haven't had many backfields. I can't remember any specific, but there was like a couple backfields. That you could have played. Well, I remember when Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, you could play them both. But this situation is these guys are both like, way up there where it was Chubb and then Hunt was like an RB2, but these guys are both like RB1s because there's so much play volume. And again, if they have the lead, they're not going to probably have to throw so much. But yes, good question. Nino Pena. Need one running back, one receiver, one flex. You got Bijan. They're playing New Orleans, a really rough match, and they're good against receiving backs too, but they're on the road. So that offers a little bit of flexibility. Brees Hall, he's going to have to get it done as a receiver because Miami has actually become a very good run defense, and teams are just loading up to stop him. But with Tim Boyle, I'm very concerned that he's not going to be able to get him the ball. And then you got Jaylen Warren. And right now, look, the touches aren't great, but he's been explosive like every week. And I don't see Cincinnati's horrible. They're not good on defense. Right? They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. So Jaylen Warren, I think you continue to go wheels up on him. Pittman, I think we see 10 targets here. I think it's Tampa Bay's been better against the run. Vita Vea is really stepping up a little bit lately. And those corners are struggling. And Jamel Dean got hurt again last week. He's been on and off the field last month, but if he plays, he's nowhere near 100%. So Pittman, I think Pittman's a strong play. Cooper Kupp, it depends on the ankle. And since these players don't go until, I think these are all Sunday decisions. So if Cooper Kupp plays, then I think that you're going to move him ahead of somebody's. And then we'll talk about Ridley for a minute. I talked about a moment ago. I won't say this too long, but last week, finally, the Jacksonville offense decided to use Ridley differently. Instead of just leaving him on ISO on the side, teams knew how the basic routes he was running. And so they were able to bracket him and kind of take him out. There was no imagination in the offense. Well, last week they got him in bunches and they got him on the move a little bit. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, Calvin Ridley's open. And Trevor Lawrence is getting on the ball. And now you got 100+ touchdowns and 2 touchdowns. Came out of nowhere because they showed no inclination to change that. But I don't know if they put the genie back in the bottle here. So, but he had a couple big games earlier in the season and went right back. But it wasn't because of play design. It was because he just overcame those against matchups. Whereas this is actually something that might be sticky. So right now I'm going to say this. I'm going to go with Warren and Pittman. And then your third one, if Kupp's ankle checks out and he's a full go in practice, then I say we use him. And then otherwise it's going to be Ridley. And I am going to sit Bijan over Warren here. The matchup in New Orleans is not good. Not good at all. If your gut says Bijan, though, over Warren, because he will get more volume. So if your gut says Bijan, then you trust your gut. Brees, we're going to leave out. I think this matchup is brutal. Hate this, man. We're sitting Brees Hall. It's terrible. It's terrible. Andrea, need 2. Debo, Tank Dell, Josh Downs, half PPR. So I was saying a little bit earlier that a beat writer from the Colts came out and said that, so Josh Downs, 2 games ago, suffered a knee injury, came out early. And then the last game, the international game, he played about 22% of the snaps. He had 2 critical first down catches. But the beat writer said he's been dealing with that knee issue since OTAs. And now he missed most of the last 2 games. And I don't know if the bye means, oh, he's better, or if he's had this since May. And if he's missed most of the last 2 games, that tells me he could have a setback. So right now, I love Josh Downs, but I think with your other options, I think right now we're going to sit down Josh Downs until we see him get through a game because you got Tank Dell and you got Debo Samuel. So I think you're in good shape there. So I think we'll just roll with that, right? But I think that's the way to go, though, because we got to check that knee out. I mean, right now I'm nervous about it. Joey, 10 TDs, second in most love it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's on top of my head, trying to remember how many touchdowns a guy scores. Can't anticipate all the questions, but thank you. Yeah, second in most, it's 11. Wow, Achane is in his 3 games. He's got to have 7, right? Oh my gosh, that was insane what that dude was doing. Hated to see him go down after a couple touches in the last game. All right, Jeff Rogers, Puka or DK or Rashad White or Saquon. So, DK had some classic battles with Charvarius Ward last year. It was pretty fun. My concern is Geno Smith. If Geno Smith is limited at all, or if he can't make it through the game, in this level of San Francisco pass rush, the crap got real now because now you got Hargrave and you got Bosa, who I should have put first, and now you got Chase Young and you've got Randy Gregory. That pass rush is insanity now. And Geno, all quarterbacks are susceptible to pressure, but Geno's real skittish under pressure. So right now, look, there are some games where Puka doesn't get targets, right? And he didn't get many till the end of the first half. And because you got a Thursday versus Sunday game, DK's got a floor, but I don't think there's much ceiling here. And I don't think DK's floor is so high in this game. Because again, we're worried about Geno. We're very worried about Geno. Because like I said, even if he plays, that doesn't mean he's good to go. So I'm gonna go Puka there because I just don't want it to be where Geno can't make it. Now all of a sudden you got Drew Lock in there. Oh, that's not gonna be good. And then Rashad White or Saquon. Oh, well, yeah, you're right because Rashad White's just getting all these catches, right? He's just catching a bunch of passes. But I was telling people last week, and there were some people that had stars against Saquon. And I'm like, okay, well, he gets play the star. I get it. But then there was like situations where Saquon was against somebody who was okay. Yes. Well, Saquon's going to be tough to set. New England's good against the run. I get it. But Saquon showed last week, and Washington was good against the run. They were a decent run defense, and they got him the ball in the pass game. I think this is one of those cases where if you want to, this White is a super safe floor, but doesn't Saquon too? In his last 4 games, he's bordering 100 something scrimmage yards, and in the one game he had like a 66, which it wasn't great, but it wasn't like he soiled the bed, right? So I just think that Saquon has the potential for a ceiling game. I know White's had a couple of 20 carry games. Indy lost Grover Stewart to a suspension, and he's still out. So, but he's making his hay as a receiver. And I want to check my notes on real quick on the receiving aspect for just give me a second. So the Colts against running backs, being it's Tuesday, yeah, but the Colts give up a lot of receiving yards to running backs. They're 23rd in there. So again, I think White has a really high floor, but I don't think he has a ridiculous ceiling here. Whereas Saquon has a reasonable floor, but Saquon could go off. I just, if your gut says White, I get it, but I'm starting Saquon because he showed me last week. And I was making a comment. He's Superman. He just proved to us he's Superman. And I think that's, the way we got to frame it. Play Superman. I know it sounds stupid, but he taught us that lesson. Andrea, you need 2. Mostert, Pacheco, Bijan, Stevenson, PPR, worry about Mostert. Well, Mostert ended up with 80-something% of the touches last week after Achane went out. I can't imagine. Achane's coming back this quickly. If he was ruled out that quickly, you have to think it's at least a game absence, right? The Jets. So where you get the Jets is in the receiving game, right? You're right. The matchup on the ground isn't great. But again, remember the speed, the way they run that offense. Mostert had games against tough opponents because of the scheme of the offense and all the speed the defense has to worry about and the misdirection. And Mostert can get it done as a receiver. But again, so we'll just mention Pacheco. They're playing the Raiders. Yeah, he lately has been a very high floor play, but not a ton of ceiling. I talked about Bijan earlier. Not a great matchup. New Orleans is excellent against the run. They cover receiving backs very well. Now, New Orleans on the road, so they do take a tick down. Stevenson, I've been very game specific on him. I've told you weeks where I go, not this week. Another week, yeah, this week isn't bad. Well, this week, the Giants, earlier in the year, they were like lights out against receiving backs. They've really scaled back on that recently. They've been much more vulnerable. And this is a game where New England has to come in wanting to run the ball. And I don't know, and I know the run blocking hasn't been great, but this is a matchup I think they can get an advantage off their bye. So I do like Stevenson this week. So I would rank them out this way. I would rank them out Stevenson, Bijan, Mostert, and Pacheco. All right. So again, Stevenson, Bijan, Mostert, and Pacheco. Eric, trade Keenan Allen and Jahmyr Gibbs for CMC, Addison, and Watson. I would prefer the Allen and the Gibbs side. Gibbs is up to 58% snap share, and it's a big deal. And I think the young man's getting better. as he gets more acclimated. And Keenan Allen, we saw the last 2 games. Teams were bracketing with some success. Didn't even matter. He's a wrecking ball the last weeks. Now CMC, you're right. You got the game breaker, but Gibbs is scoring enough points where at least it's not like ridiculous. Addison, I still have concerns if Jefferson gets back because you got Josh Dobbs, and eventually Josh Dobbs is not Kirk Cousins, and there's still TJ Hawkins in there. And are they getting to really go as pass heavy with Dobbs as they did with Cousins? And then Watson, it's not turning around. Oh, he got a touchdown. Let's say 2 for 20 and a touchdown, but that's a big game for him now. Dontavian Wicks is playing better than him right now. Now he's not. He's actually eaten into the snap share of the receiving group. I just don't think this year in this offense is going for Watson. I get it. Getting CMC is a big deal, but Allen is like a wide receiver 1 and Gibbs a wide receiver 1. And I think at this point, unless the rest of your line, unless Allen and Gibbs are luxury pieces and you're stacked at receiver, but I don't think getting Addison and Watson would help move the needle much. Delroy, full PPR, pick 2. Connor, they're not using him in the passing game. It's pissing me off. Sorry about saying that. I should have said that, but it is. They're not using him in the passing game. He has to get touchdowns eventually, though, and that's gonna be the thing. When he gets, he 2 weeks ago he knelt down to he could have scored a touchdown, ice the game. Last week, the Texans oversold the middle, so Kyler just kicked one to the outside and ran it in himself. So Connor's gonna get touchdowns. Achane, you know what? These players all go. Save this one for Sunday. Delroy, because I want to know what Achane's status is. I mean, because it's going to be as simple as that. If Achane's healthy, it's going to probably be Achane. And, right now, I think I've got to give, because the Stevenson matchup against the Giants, I got to give him a little bit of an edge over Connor right now against the Rams. I got to give him a little bit of an edge. But I guess what we'll say, but if Achane is playing, then I think we're sitting Connor. But it might be, a decision might be made for you. Eric, you have Adams, Ridley, Douglas, Downs, Lockett, and Atwell. Well, if the Jaguars are going to keep unlocking Ridley, they can do that, getting CMC does change your equation. I would almost take the trade and just tell them to keep Watson. I would tell them to keep Watson. You have no use for Watson. Watson would be an upgrade on Tutu Atwell. You could drop Atwell. I guess you'd be an upgrade on him based on his usage, but that's about it. But yeah, I can see that. And Nino, you're welcome. Randy, all right, funny story. The 1 or 2 ads that play when first joining the chat feel like forever because we don't want to miss us. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Randy. Always glad you're here, Randy. Good friend, man. Glad I got to know you in this forum. Andrea, need one. Gino, Jordan Love, or Minshew. I'm worried about Gino's health. I am very worried that injury. He doesn't hold up. He doesn't make it. It's to his throwing arm and the swelling. He came back in that game, but any of us who played sports, when you have an injury, a lot of times adrenaline kicks in and the swelling doesn't really maximize till the next day. And it's a short week game. So I'm very concerned about Gino. Jordan Love, there'll be some garbage time. Now, the last time they played week 4, he threw a couple interceptions and only 1 touchdown on that garbage time. Minshew, Tampa Bay, that's what we call pass funnel defense. They send the blitz, but they don't get a lot of pressure. And that offensive line should protect Minshew enough. And they're a little tougher to run on, and Taylor hasn't been great on the ground. So I'm going to give Minshew the edge here. I'm going to give Minshew the edge. I think Jordan Love's going to struggle in Detroit in this one. Detroit's going to, if they get the lead, they're going to be able to bring some blitz, because their offensive line can hold up. But if the blitz comes, that wouldn't be so good. And I think that's going to happen. Eric, all right, and I think we got, and happy early Thanksgiving to you, Eric. And I think we covered you. We got all that figured out. If there's something different, I think that's all there. Nino, all right, kind of scared about Brees. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So Rashad White over Brees Hall this week is a very realistic play. Because again, Brees Hall hasn't had 50 yards rushing. Now the receiving game, like I said, he's got it done. But now Tim Boyle's got to get it done. And the Dolphins, they're no joke. They're getting better on defense every week. It's not a good matchup. And that touchdown they scored last week was at the first and 40-something drives. I don't think they're finding the end zone in this game. And now Brees doesn't find the end zone. Where does that take us? And White's getting more targets. And White has a good matchup against Indy. So yeah, I'm gonna go with him. Obviously the talent is like a million times in Brees's favor, but the situation is a million times out of his favor. Unite Santini, Would I be willing to start Warren over Derrick? Yes, 100%, 100%. Derrick Henry right now, really no activity in the passing game. He had gotten better last year in that capacity. They're not in the red zone at all, so he does not get in goal line carries. So now what are you looking at? You're looking at 12 for 45. I mean, Derrick Henry's a flex right now, right? Isn't that crazy that we're asking? But you're right. It's a great question. Yeah, Warren not getting a ton of touches, but he is making everything count, and he's been good every week. So yeah, I think it's it's funny as it says, and I think in my rankings, but let me see where I even put him just to keep this for reference here. We're gotta find your Derrick Henry. I have Derrick Henry as running back 23. Yeah, wow. And I got Jalen Warren. Like for the rankings, I have him right. But if I'm setting my own lineup, because I got to have Henry at a certain place in the rankings because of the potential for him to go off, but I don't see it happening. Carolina's a good matchup for him. I'm going with Jalen Warren, and Cincinnati's terrible on defense, so he'll be in great shape. But to move Henry down to running back 23, that speaks volumes. Andrea, running back in the flex for Javonte Lockett, Demario Douglas. So I like Demario Douglas's floor here. He should get you 10, 11, but I don't think there's a ceiling. I don't think there's any ceiling. And Lockett, I'm very worried about Geno's arm. And if that arm is a problem, getting the ball downfield is going to be a problem. So Lockett's looking at low volume. And matchup against the 49ers isn't good. I'm going to go with the running backs here. I'm going to go with the volume. The floor play running backs in this one. I think Demario, it doesn't have enough of a ceiling, whereas Ford or Javonte could get to a ceiling. And United States, I think we got you on that one. And Chargy 65, ADU as well. Half PPR. You need a running back in a flex. Dylan, Charbonnet, Nico, and Rashid. Oh, man, Shaheed could be in a good spot, right? No Michael Thomas. They were playing coy with that injury. Right away, they're like it's significant, and they wouldn't put him on any, like, if anything with the injury. I think he's on IR. I got to double check that. But anyway, so Shaheed, and the matchup for Shaheed is really nice against the Falcons. Falcons are great against the run. They're really like one of the best run defenses in the league, but passes and they don't get a lot of pass rush. And so game is in a dome, which helps even though it's a road game for Carr. So Shaheed's a big upside guy for you here. Nico Collins should have a nice stable floor. The routes he runs, look, the Jags have been great against the pass this year. Nico hasn't had those great ceiling games, but he has a good floor. I want to say he had 11. Did he have 11 targets last week? That sounds about right. Dylan Charbonnet. Dylan's going to get volume, but I don't think he's going to do anything with the volume. Detroit has been a top 3 run defense, and the offensive run blocking, the left line run blocking for Green Bay has been putrid. Their pass pro has been great. Run blocking's been putrid. So, and Dylan doesn't even if he gets in the red zone, he rarely cashes in there. Charbonnet should get some catches, and it's a bad matchup, but I think there's going to be a good deal of volume there. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm starting Nico for the floor ceiling combo. Charbonnet's your floor play. So if you want to just be safe at the floor, but if you want to go risk some floor, lower floor, but you want to go for high ceiling, Shaheed could get a big player too. It's because if his snap share goes up because of Michael Thomas being out, I know AT Perry will play, but Shaheed is a dynamic player and they know that. So Shaheed's your boom bust, and I would give strong consideration if you want that upside. But if you want to be safe and get the floor, just put Charbonnet in with Nico. Ashton, yours says need 3K Williams, and that's all. Oh, it's down below. I'll get to you when I see it down there. Oh, my daughter's calling. I can't take that now. I'll get to her in a little bit. All right. So, Randy, let's see what you got here. There you go. Packers are down Aaron Jones and Musgrave. Run heavy game script for the Lions. I think the Lions come in wanting to run it anyway. That's their identity. They throw when they need to. They'll throw some, but if they get a lead, they're not gonna put themselves in that situation. It's not gonna happen. Michael, Kamara or Warren. So we go with Kamara here. And the matchup's bad. The matchup is bad. But Kamara gets elite level volume. And I think volume is king in fantasy football. At Jalen Warren, and we know he's a great matchup, and he's got done every week, right? But we're looking at 10, 12 touches, whereas Kamara has games with 7 targets. It's not just once in a while. He gets a good number of big target games. And I think that's where he has an advantage in Atlanta. Doesn't have it on the ground, but as a receiver out of the backfield, he has an advantageous matchup. And we know Kamara could pile up those PPR points. And I think Kamara's floor is higher than Warren's. And Kamara would have a stronger likelihood of finding the end zone. So it's close. And if your gut says Warren, I get it because he's playing so well, very explosive, exceptional player. But I think Kamara's usage it makes him a safer play. And he can have the ceiling game. He still can have them. And coming out of the bye, at his age too, I think it's a good advantage for him to come off of a bye a little bit fresher too. Cruz Garcia, start 2 running back, 3 receiver, a flex. So you need 6 of these. I mean, you have Diggs, who's complaining and not happy. Oh, what a mess with him. And just see something real quick at him. They're playing Philly. It's an ideal matchup for him. CD Lamb's an auto start. Tank Dell at this point is an auto start. Gibbs is an auto start. So let's start with that. So you need 6 of these guys. So CD, Tank, Gibbs are auto starts. Diggs, even though he's been disgruntled in the matchup, is too good to pass. And so we're going to say he's the 4th. So you need 2 more players out of this group. You know what? I would say, look, Kyron Williams is getting activated. He was producing at an elite level. It's a fantastic matchup against the Cardinals. I think you got to go right back to him. And that's your 5th. Now for number 6, look, it's going to come down as Pollard plays on Thursday. And who else do you have in there? Puka's in there. And Achan's in there. But we're not going to know about Achan's knee injury. I think because Pollard's going to have a floor for you. It's not been a great season. He scored twice all year. But I think the floor of Pollard is strong enough to trust him here. Achan, if we knew he was playing, I don't know if he's going to play. And Puka, we saw he didn't get a target like near half. And if Cooper Kupp's back, I'm worried about his target share. Ashton, you need 3. Kyron, Gus, Waddle, or Chandler. It's a bad matchup for Waddle. Both of the corners are outstanding on the outside. And Gus Edwards, like I said, he's getting his 60 yards, but he's such a huge factor near the goal line. And they're going to probably be in the red zone a lot against the Chargers. So he's a great chance to do it again. And then Kyron Williams, you just talked about. I just think you got to – the matchup's too good and he's been playing too great. Chandler played well 2 weeks in a row. I know it was only 3 yards per carry 2 weeks ago, but he's played well. And they're playing the Bears. Now, the Bears, they're coming out feistier on defense. I'm going to give them that. The last 2 games, they went much feistier on defense. So I am gonna go with the talent of Waddle because if they get him into space, he can avoid the corners and get a big play for you. I want to sit Chandler in this one. Charge, you have to choose between Kincaid and Laporta. So with Kincaid, the floor is really high. I mean, the targets have been 5+ a game. With defense having to worry about the receivers, he has in the middle of the field is like fertile ground against Philly. So Laporta, the problem is the targets aren't always there. He's a great player. But if they run the ball like they did last time they played the Packers 40+ times, there's not going to be much to go around. I'm going to give Kincaid the edge because I think they're going to have to throw more than Jared Goff's going to have to throw. Delegizi. Oh, good. Let's see. Oh, good. We're almost down to the end of the question. Oh, good. Got everybody done. We almost got everybody set. We probably got about 8 questions. Delegizi, you have to sit 2. Zach Charbonnet, Breece Hall, Austin Eckler, T. Higgins, and Ridley. Must start for me is Tell and with DJ. I love DJ Moore. Now, you're again 100% agree with you. You are starting DJ Moore. Last time he played Minnesota, now the Bears didn't throw a bunch, and then Fields got knocked out in the second half of the game. But Minnesota did win. Hopefully the Bears figured out what they did on defense so they could get better. But yeah, don't sit DJ Moore because he has 4 games at 96 or more yards in his last 5 starts at Fields. So, all right, which ones are you sitting there? You know what? Breece Hall is in trouble against Miami. Can he break a big play? Yeah, he can, but the probability is low because the defense are completely selling out on him. And the line isn't given. The line's all banged up. I don't think Dwayne Brown's coming back. Mekhi Becton's out. They lost their center to injured reserve. Their right guard's on injured reserve. And Miami is like sharks. They're not Dolphins. They're sharks right now, and their front seven's active. So we're going to use Eckler, though. So we're going to sit Breece Hall in this group, and we're going to sit T. Higgins. Because, I don't know he's healthy. But even if he does play, now we got Jake Browning instead of Joe Burrow. So we're going to sit them, and that's going to be where we'll go, Delegizi. Start Fields or Murray this week. So, again, Fields was struggling against Minnesota last time, but they saw them, and there may be an advantage to that. And they didn't aggressively run him. And we saw last week, they did a great. Those since that Minnesota, so when he got hurt in Minnesota, the 2 games before that, he had 35 fantasy points. Minnesota kind of shut him down. Brian Flores is a great defensive coach, but Arizona's playing the Rams now. In theory, it's a good passing game matchup. Murray's running as well. 50 yards and a touchdown last week, 30 in the week prior. I'm worried about Fields at Minnesota. Brian Flores, again, is just a lot of blitz, a lot of confusing blitz, and a lot of coverage. I'm going to go with Murray here. I think Fields is the boom bust here. And Murray has a higher floor and a reasonable ceiling. If you need crazy ceiling, then play Fields, but there's a floor here. There's a low floor here. And then Chiefs defense against the Raiders, Browns defense against Denver. You know what? I have to go with the Browns here because you can run on the Chiefs. And Josh Jacobs is going to run 30 times in this game. He's 26 and 28 before last week. They're going to run him. And the Browns are going to cause all kinds of problems for Russell Wilson. So, yeah, and you know what? Honestly, my rule is I don't sit the Browns. I roster them in a lot of my leagues. Don't sit the Browns. Just because of how crazy they can turn up points for you. Joey Reed, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Tank Dell, Christian Kirk. Got to sit Kirk here. CD, obviously. Olave coming out of the bye, Atlanta. That's a pass funnel defense. Can't run on them, but you can throw on them. It's an indoor game. That's good for them. Tank Dell right now is too good to sit. It's too good to sit. He might have a bad game, but the probability is he's seeing 11 to 14 targets in the last 3 games. Can't sit that. Unite Santini, Rashad White, Charbonnet, D. Hopper, Addison. I'm going Rashad White here. Don't know if Jefferson's playing. And that might be part of it. This might be more of because you got Charbonnet in there. Well, we're playing White over Charbonnet. So I would say if Justin Jefferson's out, you can make a case for Addison. But I think White has such a high floor. And against Indy, you can get it done as a receiving back, and that's what he does. And Hopkins right now, if it wasn't for that trick play and that touchdown, he wasn't going to do anything. That offense is crippled right now. And even though they're playing Carolina, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go Rashad White there. Harlan, Goff versus the Packers, Herbert versus right. Herbert has a bad matchup here. My worry with Goff is that like the first time they played the Packers, they ran 40 times because they had the lead and they didn't have to pass. And that might be the same here. So Goff has a higher ceiling than Herbert in this one, but he has a really low floor. Herbert, regardless of how good Baltimore's defense is, Herbert's been getting done for. He ran for 73 yards last week to make it happen, right? So there's that, right? But I gotta text somebody. I'm gonna text my wife and tell them I'm on a show right here. Let me just text this real quick and then. All right, sorry about that. All right, let's get this. So Herbert finds a way to get that. Herbert has a higher floor than Goff in this one, but Goff has the higher ceiling. But if they have to run the ball all day, that's not going to work. So it's a tough call, but Herbert would be safest. And Herbert's capable of putting up a big game against anybody, and they're going to trail. It's more likely Herbert's throwing than Goff. So I give the slight edge to Herbert. And I know Goff at home is tough to set. Randy, do I like Njoku or likely Njoku? The targets are through the roof. 15, 7s, 9s. They use him in the screen game. He's been a staple of that offense, not going away. Likely had some opportunities early in the year. Andrews missed week 1. He really did nothing. I think in this new offense, I don't think his role is prioritized. He's not Andrews, and he's not used like Andrews. So there's that. Unite Santini, who do I like rest of the schedule? Lamar or Stroud? Stroud. Lamar has too many 1-touchdown games. And it's that simple. And the rushing is good, but it's not like old school Lamar good. Stroud, it's been insane. Yeah, it's Stroud. And I'll tell you where I have in my rest of schedule rankings. Let me open those up real quick here. And tell you what I got here. I have Stroud as my quarterback 5, and I have Lamar as my quarterback 8. Jake, odd man out, PPR, Pollard, Breece Hall, Rashad White, Mike Evans, gotta be Breece Hall. He's been getting some done as a receiver. Teams, the Miami's like everybody's just ganging up on him. They don't respect the quarterback. And this week, I don't know if the receiving stuff's there. And the touchdown he had last week was their first time in 40-something drives. They're probably not scoring a touchdown. Jukebox Hero Hartle. Do I think Howell and Barkley will fall off down the stretch playoffs with their tough matchups? Howell had some difficult matchups, somewhat difficult matchups. This week, I don't like him against Dallas. And he probably play Dallas again, too. But Bieniemy has him getting the ball out quickly, and he has great weapons. So there's that. So I don't think Howell falls off too much from a fantasy perspective. From an NFL perspective, he might look really rough, but he's gonna have to score points. And for the most part, Bieniemy again has him avoiding some of those hits he was taking. Barkley, I don't see any reason he'd slow down, and they might get Tyrod back. They might get him back in a game or two. It's possible, and that would help him out too. So I don't necessarily see Barkley showed us last week. He's Superman. I mean, the fact he did what he did, Washington's a good run defense, and he did it. So, yeah, I think they'll be all right. Michael Ben, would I play Pollard and Gibbs over Warren? I think Warren has actually more upside than Pollard. Pollard scored a touchdown last week, but it's rare. Week 1 he scored. There's just you're getting 70 yards out of him in a game, maybe a catch or two. Warren's been better. And Warren's matchup against Cincy's beautiful. Cincy's terrible on defense. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. And Pittsburgh doesn't want to pass the ball. They don't trust Kenny Pickett. So but Gibbs for sure. Gibbs all day. Gibbs is 58% of the work now. He took the lead role. Nicholas, Ferguson, Njoku, Ingram for the rest of the season. I'm still going to go Ferguson, because the red zone looks he gets. He is a primary look. He and Lamb, they're the primary looks in the red zone, and that Dallas offense scores a lot of points. Njoku's getting a lot of targets, but it doesn't mean they're going to continue. Like if Joe Flacco comes in, he might not look his way. He might be looking more to Amari Cooper. Ingram, his volume has been nice. No touchdowns. The yardage hasn't been there. Go with Ferguson. Delegazy, appreciate you, man. Thanks. All right. TH, would I trade Ramondre and Dell for Swift and Godwin? Swift had a nice game last night, but it wasn't great. And he hasn't had a great fantasy game since that 175 yards, whenever it was like almost 2 months ago, almost a month and a half. So you know what? Godwin's been a good floor play. There hasn't been a lot of ceiling games. Ramondre is going to get some PPR work. I mean, Ramondre has been good. The offensive line has been letting him down. But I think letting go of Dell's tough. I don't think the upgrade from Ramondre to Swift is going to get you a Dell, because Dell's, I don't think that's going away this year. I don't think that's stopping this year. Things get figured next year, maybe, but I don't think it's getting figured out now. I probably wouldn't. Jonathan Santiago, Charbonnet, or Sutton both got tough matchups. The thing with Sutton is, my God, he scored 8 of 10 games. The targets are like not good. A kid 11 last week, like 2 weeks ago, whatever. But otherwise, it's 1, 3, 5, 4, and then you throw a 7 in there. But the targets are not great, and so, but yet Sutton gets it done. But Charbonnet's a safer floor this week, because he'll catch 4 or 5 passes. Might not get a lot of yards. He'll get some rushing. I think Charbonnet's going to get you 60 or so scrimmage yards, but I don't think he has ceiling. Sutton, on the other hand, I think is a low floor, but could he get past the defense for a long play that gets a touchdown? Yes. So I think Charbonnet's way safer. I think he's a floor play. I think Sutton is a boom bust this week, where you could get the big play on him. They are prone to give up the big play. So there's that. But Charbonnet's safer. But if you need the boom bust, then Sutton. And then Michael, one more. Play Chase without Burrow or London with minimal. Well, I don't know that Desmond Ridder is better than Jake Browning. Now that I think about that, they're playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh corners. Joey Porter's playing well, but that doesn't. I think Chase is going to get. I think he's going to get a ton of underneath stuff with a chance to break stuff. So I think his floor is high for that. I think he's still getting 10, 11 targets. I don't think there's a world where that goes away. Whereas London, we just see too many floor games. The last 3 games haven't been great. And, now Ritter's back and they're playing New Orleans. Now it's Marshawn Lattimore's out. So there's that. But Paulson Adebo, when he's on that side, he's been solid. I'm going to give Chase the edge here. I just think he gets too many targets. United Santini, do I start Addison over Brees at JJ sits? Yeah, I would. I would. I would. Addison some snaps on Jalen Johnson, who's playing well, but there'll be a lot of snaps when he's not on him, and I think they can go his way. And I just don't see Brees having any ceiling at all. And Addison, we know, can get a big play. So I would do that. Jake, you lost Burrow. Do I think Tua can get the job done the rest of the season and playoffs? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be down games. And when they play an elite defense, you always worry that they take them out. But I mean, you got Tyreek Hill. And, sometimes you just need one pass and it works. It's, it might be a little bit of a ride, but I think you're fine with Tua. You're fine with Tua. I have him as my QB6 rest of schedule. I actually got to adjust that. I got to move him down to 7. I got to move Dak ahead. I don't know why I didn't do that. I'm going to do that right now, actually. Make that move. Got to keep Dak ahead of him right now. Dak's on fire, and they're going to keep throwing all year. They realize they can't run the ball. Joey, thank you, Joey. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well. Appreciate you. Unite Santini, Cooper, Higgins, rest of the season. You know what? Just in the hopes that Joe Flacco plays, and I think he will, I'm going to go Cooper. I just don't think that Browning could support Higgins and Chase is going to get the targets. Iron Eddie, last question. I have PPR. Start 2. Singletary, Nico, and Tank. They're all Texans. Singletary had 2 phenomenal matchups, and he cashed. Did a great job. Jacksonville's not as easy of a matchup. And Jacksonville's also good against the pass. So I still think the target volume, the much they're throwing, I'm going to, Singletary has been hot. I get it. But the matchups were really, really advantageous. It's not as advantageous here. So I think we're going to sit Singletary as 1. And we're going to go with Nico and Tank Dell. They're both getting targets. And then Randy, you have Jonathan Taylor and Moss was dropped. Would I drop someone like Tyjae Spears or Mitchell for Moss? So right now, this Moss is like done. Every week, the snaps have gone down, down, down. It was down to I want to say, top of my head, I want to say Taylor played 80% of the snaps or more, unless 80-something percent of the snaps. Every week it's gone down, 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 and Moss's role is dried up. And even though Taylor's not playing great, so right now, I mean, if you're doing it for handcuff for the playoffs, then do it. Then drop Mitchell. If you have McCaffrey, then keep Mitchell for that. But if you don't have McCaffrey, drop Mitchell and keep Moss just as a direct backup in case he misses time. Because we already know what happens if Moss gets in there. And you're welcome and happy Thanksgiving. Eric, sit Lockett against the 49ers. Again, I'm worried about Geno's arm. Very worried about his arm, the injury. And the 49ers pass rush right now is no joke. They got 4 legit high-end pass rushers, and that's going to be a real problem. So that's it. So, yeah, unless you'd have no other options, I would be inclined to sit Lockett in this one. And then Jaws, young Coventry needs to post her question here in chat. Nice. All right, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for hanging with me. Good luck in your games. I'll be back on Saturday and then Sunday for the regular live start sit stream, 11 a.m. Happy Thanksgiving to all.